Hato, Hawesi Wapani. Hello, good morning. I'm Marsha Meyer. I am a member of the Shawnee Indians. Our stomp grounds are out of White Oak, Oklahoma. The museum asked me to make one of our Shawnee dresses. So here she is. This is our traditional dress. It's made out of calico cotton. And from what I have been told, the calico years ago were a lot larger flowers than what we find now. And then we always wore an apron. The ribbon on it is kind of designates the age of the person. So as a young, little tiny person, you would only wear one ribbon. As a young girl, you would wear two. As a woman, you would wear three. And as an elder like me, I have 4 ribbons on my dress. We chose the blue and yellow because of those are kind of our flag's colors. We only sew our dresses during daylight hours. Traditionally, they would have been sewn by hand, but I do use a sewing machine. I don't use a pattern, so I tear my fabric and then I double the width of her hips for the measurement around on her skirt. And then on her collar, I double the bust measurement in order to get the fullness for the collar. And it is part of the dress. It's attached to the top. And our ribbons match on the skirt and the apron. We also put ribbon on our pockets. The collar is, how we figure out the length of the collar is from the forearm, so it's from the wrist to the elbow, and so that is our length of our collar. We also carry a shawl when we dance. Then on our traditional dances, a lot of time, or when we dress up, a lot of times we will wear a silver medallion here at the intersection of the collar. And then our moccasins are the center seam toed moccasins. And this is my colors, and these are my moccasins. They won't stay with her. And then years ago, we were wearing hourglass pieces for our hair, and this would be in our hair, and then the ribbons hang down our back. And then my sister is a silversmith, and she made this comb for my dress. I'm a turtle clan, so she put a turtle on it and white oak leaves. And then I also wear necklaces with my dress. And at one time, or still, a lot of women will decorate their collar with concho emblems around the edge as some decoration. In the first dress I ever made, I wanted to dance so bad with them, so I figured if I made a dress, they would ask me to dance, be one of our dancers. And it was kind of funny because we referred to a book, and I made the skirt shorter, about probably the length of the apron. And we had one lady in camp that stood up for us and said it was okay that we had short skirts because we were also Delaware, and the Delawares tend to wear a short skirt. So the next time the dance came, I had mine lengthened. By asking people and just observing other women in their dresses, and we did have a class a few years ago on making Shawnee dresses, and without using a pattern, I worked with rectangled pieces of fabric and used a t-shirt the first time I made the dress as my shirt pattern. And I don't cut the sleeves out here, but the seam is out here. And then I attach the sleeve to here, so that gives us plenty of room in it. Plus with the collar you don't notice the seam way out here. But I'm sure some women do use patterns to make theirs. But I just ask around and people would give me information like the length of the collar, matching the ribbon, and when you look at other people wearing their dresses, you kind of have an idea how to construct it that way. Probably, I would say 3 or 4 days. I don't usually rush my sewing, and then that way it gives me time to do, like the first thing I did was make the skirt. And then I worked on doing the blouse, and then I sew the ribbon on at the very end, and then the apron is the last thing I make, so I can match all the ribbon up with the skirt. But I would say probably 4 days of pretty steady sewing. I would assume we got our cotton fabric from the people, from the Europeans, and I would have assumed it would have been a trade in the beginning because they were probably wanting our pelts and things that we had, and then they would bring in the cotton. But I'm not sure when the dress came into being. I became more active in the stomp grounds, or the first time I became active was in the late 80s. And most of the women were wearing Shawnee dresses then, but the first time in the early 80s, a lot of women were just wearing what I would call house dresses. And as time goes now, all of us girls are wearing Shawnee dresses. And it's so neat to see all the different colors people come up with. It's pretty.